Texas football today, Texas Football Inc., I like to say, today is what Austin was in 2018. Somewhere in that range. The hype and the buzz has never been greater. Right? Anybody remember? Heck, most of you moved here around that time of 2018-ish. The hype and the buzz has never been greater. I've been in this city most of my life. I'm one of probably 3 people. I followed Texas football most of my life. No one even knows what I say when I tell people when I was a kid I used to sit in the knothole at Texas games. That was a thing a long time ago. And Texas football was a big part of my life for a few years. And I'll say this. I've never seen the media buzz about Texas like it is now. Never before. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that it's all justified. I'm just telling you I'm a fairly credible source on this stuff, and I'm telling you the buzz has never been greater. Nothing like it. I'm not saying it's the best Texas team ever. That's not the point. The buzz, the talk, the coverage, the breadth of the coverage has never been this big. The media interest and hype has never been like it is right now. I've never seen the level of media attention as broad as it is right now. The Texas Football Inc., it's what it is, that brand has never been bigger and never been cooler. Today's New York Times, and yes, I said today's New York Times. The headline of today's New York Times is Texas college football's new Alabama. Okay, here's a small sample of what the New York Times thinks and says about the Texas football program. It says, for the first time, Texas will enter a college football season as the number 1 team in the country. This is decided by the Associated Press. The coaches poll did the same last week. In short, Texas has become the new Alabama. The talent conveyor belt is fully operational and well-funded. The Longhorns maneuvered past Alabama and created a new pecking order in the SEC. The Times goes on. At a time when how much a school can spend has never been more directly tied to how good the team can be. No school is better positioned to fund a championship roster than Texas. Reports that the Longhorns built a $40 million plus roster this year are difficult to confirm, but not hard to believe. Been telling you for a long time, no one will ever outspend them. You can't even come close. But it's not just the money. It's the buzz. The Times goes on to say business is booming in Austin, which has become a hub for tech companies. Really? We didn't know. Thanks for letting us in on that one. The Times goes on to say, but right now, the program in Austin is closer to the one Nick Saban left behind than the one in Tuscaloosa. It's a long story that is just glowing about the buzz about Texas. I mean, he just pretty much replaced everybody in the SEC and inserted Texas. Now, you can roll your eyes. You can. I get it. You could say, hey, look, man, don't they need to prove it? And I get that too. Okay, but it is true that Texas is well-positioned, incredibly well-positioned, and I think I can explain why. There's a lot of factors that go into this. And yeah, money's a big part of it. But I do think I'm qualified to offer this insight and opinion. So think about how, if you want to know how much the buzz matters, the sex appeal matters. I believe I posted a podcast last year when Texas and Georgia were about to play. And I said a lot of this stuff at the time. It's not just the money. College football's landscape, the view of winning a player over is a lot like professional sports free agency. It's about not just the money, but it's about the lifestyle you can offer. Okay, I made this comment a year ago and people flipped out and said, but Georgia this, Alabama this. Well, I think people are now starting to notice. So think about how things have changed. It's a good way to look at the perspective of the landscape of why they're so well positioned. Okay, and I'm just talking about the football part. So like when I was coming out of high school, when I was a recruit, I wasn't a huge deal, but I had options. The recruiting process and the decision-making for guys like me and the guys much better than me, okay? It followed a pretty simple path. It had been following a path for a long time, and that was, as a player, you're looking for a prestigious program. You're not just looking for a prestigious program, one with tradition and all that stuff, but it's going to be in your region. And then that was part of it, because that's what you knew. That's what you saw in front of your face. That's what you were exposed to regularly. And then the next thing was the relationship you had with the coach that was recruiting you. And that mattered, and probably still matters to a degree, because that coach is the one talking to you all the time. That's the conduit to the program. That's the salesman. That person is with you and calling you and texting you all the time. It was a full-on sales job by that assistant coach. So that relationship matters over time. And to a smaller degree, laugh if you want, academics and academic fit did matter. Now, not to a lot of people, but it did to some of us. And it was part of the pitch. Okay? Big state programs, big blue blood programs across the country just seemed far away. You didn't see them that often. Then the process was altered by two things, right? If you just sort of plot this thing along, the building blocks of modern day college football success, what you see today, why Texas is so well positioned today. So then the process was altered by a couple of things, I think. The growth and access to sports media, mainly ESPN. ESPN and all sports channels made the NFL in your lap all the time. It was 24/7. And it became, look, when I was getting recruited, yeah, guys thought they might end up in the NFL, but it seemed far off too. But you have a generation, right? Another generation of young players, star high school players, who at the time, this is what Nick Saban pulled off at Alabama, just saw the NFL as an absolute, saw it as a direct path. It seemed very close to them. And so it seemed attainable. High school stars didn't want to be stars at a college program. When I was getting recruited, you wanted to be a star at whatever school you wanted to go to. That's what you thought. That was the end. Then you got a generation of players, high school players, that wanted to get to the NFL because it seemed so close. It seemed really attainable. And they expect to be NFL stars. It was no longer about the school close to home. It was more about the NFL. What came to matter is, I expect to play in the NFL. Can you get me there? Nick Saban came along with his pro resume. He took that concept and he put it on steroids. His "I will train you like a pro and I will get you there" pitch worked because it was true. His recruiting tool of choice became NFL players. Move forward quickly again. At a social media, this is my theory on why Texas is so well positioned. And you can use tech company comparisons all day. I think the New York Times is probably right about this. I think a lot of things that came to winning over tech talent to come to Austin, all the things some kid with a big first-year salary wanted to come here, is the same thing that is working for Texas now in football. Money and cool factor. So social media became like the connector in a teenager's life, right? Then along comes pay for play. It becomes a sport of sugar daddies. It becomes a sport of, wow, we can make money at this. I want to make money at this. My family wants to make money at this. Let's talk. Money has mattered a lot. Maybe not most, but close to it. So then you have the built-in advantage for Texas that goes just beyond the money. Yes, they have all the money. No one comes even close. You can't win the arms race against them. No one will. But I think there's more to it than that. I think that's why the New York Times and everybody else is jumping on. As I said, I've never seen the media buzz, the media hype about Texas. There have been great Texas teams. That Texas team that went wire to wire, number 2 in the country, to beat USC, one of the greatest games of all time, didn't have this kind of buzz. I mean, I'm not going to say they were an afterthought, but they were under the radar. Never. because of all these interesting factors, demographic factors, money factors, tech factors, all the things, built-in advantages Texas have are now starting to generate the media buzz that's just, it's amazing. It's almost nauseating. Right? So for Texas, it's not just the money. The money matters, but the built-in advantage goes beyond the money. College football life, okay, the way these guys think and the way it's positioned and the way it's viewed. And look, I think it's sad. I do. I say that because generations of young men are sold a life they will never really live. In the process, they have no connections, and I find it gross and disgusting. Just a sidebar. College football programs have no connections to the school. They're irrelevant, basically. And I think that's gross and disgusting, but that is what it is, and fans don't care. You view it as separate. They operate separately. But here's the Texas advantage and selling point. College football has turned into free agency. Okay? And the free agency choice is built on money and lifestyle. Live and act like a pro. And if you can be wealthy and live and act like a pro, don't you want to live and act like a pro at a cool place? Right? College football is more like free agency and pro sports and less about the recruiting pitch about the school or even Saban's pitch about the NFL. It's a lifestyle decision. It's about money and living like a professional athlete. The tech companies are here. This is where I think the Times is on to something. It's something I've explained before. The tech companies are here. And no, I'm not suggesting that high school football players are going to work at Meta or any other place down in downtown Austin. What I'm saying is the tech companies are here because there's a constant source of talent. Okay? There's a giant university spitting out people that, guess what? They want to stay here. They want to be wealthy here. And so the tech companies are here because it's a place where somebody making $175,000 starting salary, they think they're going to live well, and they are, and they want to do it here. They don't want to go to someplace else. Everything matched up. If I can make good money, I want to be a 22-year-old in Austin. That's cool. There's stuff to do. So it all works together. You're young, you're making good money. It's a cool place to be with money. It's turned into the same way to sell high school football players or transfer for that matter, right? Austin's big city celebrity vibe is a thing. Texas is doing what USC should be doing, but their coach is a doofus, and so they can't pull it off. And if they hire Deion Sanders, I think you would see some of the same kind of buzz about USC that you see about Texas. But the bottom line is, it's the same sales pitch. Look, you're going to be wealthy. So don't you want to be like the software engineers that are making huge money and be wealthy in Austin? You can live around other celebrities. You can live the cool factor. You're living like a pro without all the stuff that comes with being a pro. Texas Tech can throw money and is throwing money at guys, at players. Ohio State can throw money at players. So can Michigan. They can all throw money at players. But Texas can throw the same amount of money, if not more, and throw in lifestyle and vibe. It's like the Lakers wanting you in free agency. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but you consider it. The sex appeal matters. When you're 22, just like a software engineer, you want to be wealthy in Austin. A lot of us Austinites are kind of sick of the whole setup, but it is true. So it's not about schools. It's about lifestyle and star power. And no one in the college game can match them. The ones that could, and there's very few, maybe Miami, maybe USC, they've screwed it up. Everyone tells these guys they're going to go to the NFL. Right? That's all they hear. Their families say it. It's disgusting. It's terrible. But it is the nature of the beast now. Everybody tells them they're going to the NFL. They just assume that's the case. So living a wealthy life at 20 in Austin is far more appealing than being in Columbus or Tuscaloosa or Ann Arbor or Norman, Oklahoma. Right? Texas football program is like, it's like South Beach to young players. It's what it's become. That's the way it feels. That's the way it looks. That's the way people talk about it. Now, the coverage is making it even more so. And I think that's why the Times and others have made the observation, wow, they've just kind of got it going on. I'm not dismissing the coaching. I'm not dismissing the training. But you got to have a built-in advantage, and they've got it, and it's taken off. So you add to that, right? You got the same thing that appealed to a wealthy 20-year-old to go work in software in Austin. You know, go to shows and stuff. I mean, it just looks cooler, and you're around cooler people. You hear about cool people. You're living in a downtown high-rise, and your neighbor is famous. I mean, all that stuff. Add to that, Steve Sarkisian handles himself well publicly. He comes off, I don't know if you agree with this, but he comes off like a younger Pete Carroll. I think he just channels some energy. And then you add the most famous name in the sport, okay? Smiling and looking cool. And the national media is drooling. You throw in the Manning royalty, the Manning look, the Manning vibe, and the media is absolutely drooling because we're in the business of clicks and star power, and there is no bigger star in no bigger cool place. I mean, it is like the perfect storm of media buzz. Can it all fall apart? Well, sure. They get rolled in Columbus. Yeah, it's a buzzkill. But for today, for now, you know, the landscape of college sports is all about selling, which it is. It's all about branding. It is. There is no bigger buzz than Texas, bigger than I've ever seen it. I've never seen reactions like this. And I'm not saying it's all Arch Manning, but it certainly adds to it. No doubt. In 2018, for example, if you're a young engineer getting a first year big salary, this was the place to be, right? I mean, we can make all the hipster jokes we want. We can talk all day long about what they've done to Austin, but it was, and maybe still is to a smaller degree, the place to be. That same applies to athletes with money. So yeah. What the Times said, the headline of the New York Times, which I assume is going to set the SEC world's hair on fire. Same with everybody else probably. But what the Times headline is, the Texas is replacing Alabama, the next Alabama. That headline, now here's the thing, it shouldn't be far off. I didn't say it is. It shouldn't be far off. They've got everything they want now. Couldn't be in a better spot. So that headline shouldn't be that far off. Here's what I want you to keep in mind. If you're injured by the negligence of someone else or you have any sort of issue with the insurance company, I can tell you this from experience. You need DJC Law. And I can tell you, having been a client of theirs, they will do three things. They'll take care of every single detail. You'll get peace of mind working with them, and you will get the result you deserve. That's the way it works with DJC Law. Check out teamjustice.com, and you'll see thousands of five-star reviews. Look, the bottom line is, and trust me on this, the bottom line is if you're injured by the negligence of someone else, fighting with the insurance companies for any reason, you need DJC Law, and Dan Christensen and his team of lawyers at DJC Law have a remarkable track record. Go to teamjustice.com or call 512-888-9999. That's 512-888-9999.